The big dog, the head of the table, the tribal chief. If you don't know who I'm referring to, I'm speaking about Roman Reigns. His aura unmatched, and some may debate that he has a spot on wrestling's Mount Rushmore. His tribal chief persona, starting from 2020 to 2024, showcased many facets of Roman's character: fury, dominance, relevancy. But there was one character trait that led not only to him losing his coveted WWE Undisputed Championship, but the loss of everything that he fought desperately to keep within his grasp. Hello everyone, this is Spear Studios. Here we are going to look at WWE through a Christian lens, and I am not talking about the wrestler known as Christian, but we are going to look at different storylines, rivalries, and feuds within the WWE universe to find biblical principles to glean from. Without further delay, let's get right into it. So let's go back a couple years ago. It's 2020. The late Bray Wyatt is facing off against Braun Strowman for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. And Bray had won the championship, but he was met with an unexpected challenger.
Oh my God, what the hell? Who the hell? And he's beating the hell out of the Universal Champion!
This Roman Reigns was different. He was aggressive, assertive, and with the addition of his new manager, Paul Heyman, the WWE landscape clearly changed. We just didn't know the full extent of it. Roman defeated Braun and Bray in a triple threat match in Payback that very next month, and this title win would be the start of the historic 1,316-day title reign. Hold up a minute. 1,316 days. There's 365 days in the year. 1,316 divided by 365 is approximately 3.6. That means this man held this title for almost 4 years straight. That's another level of dominance. We aren't talking Punk's 434-day reign as champion, or even John Cena's 380-day reign as champion. Roman Reigns held this title for 3 times the length that they held their own titles, respectively. This level of dominance wasn't possible without his family, the Usos, or his manager, or what wrestling fans call him, the wise man, Paul Heyman. But as the head of the table, the breadwinner of the family, Roman only relied on himself. He only viewed himself as the meal ticket, the main event guy, the only person that mattered inside of his universe. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call arrogance. Proverbs chapter 16 verses 18 tells us this: pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. How did Roman show arrogance throughout his title reign? We are going to look at a few key moments where arrogance overtook Roman, blurring the lines between confidence and arrogance. The idea of being arrogant is the idea of self-praise. This is something that is detestable by God. God hates arrogance. In fact, Proverbs chapter 16 verse 5 tells us, everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured, he will not go unpunished. Roman Reigns exalted himself to a pretty high standard. He would go around to different stadiums around the world demanding that the WWE Universe acknowledges him. I mean, he forced his own cousin Jey Uso to submit to him just to stroke his ego. Jey didn't want to join Roman's group. He saw Roman for who he was, a dictator, an arrogant, selfish human being, and didn't want any part of it. But his brother Jimmy was willing to join, and Roman used this brotherly bond to his advantage. He went as far as to hurt and maim Jey's own brother, not to show loyalty, not to show acknowledgement to the Usos, not even to showcase his dominance. He did this just to show he could bend others to do his bidding, to show that he runs his universe. That's the thing about arrogance. It causes you to believe that you don't need to answer to anyone. You are in charge, and only you are the consistent factor in your own universe. This was the first of many showcases of arrogance displayed by Roman, and we'll get more into that later. But now, let's look at some parallels between Roman and a character from the Bible that was arrogant and was quickly humbled by God. Imagine a kingdom that had a strong army, vast wealth and riches, and in that kingdom there was one king that was in charge of one of, if not the, strongest nation in the world. I mean, if this king wanted you unalived, all he needed to do was say a single word. Let's call this king King Nebuchadnezzar, and we can read about him in the book of Daniel. You see, the king had these troubling dreams that no one could interpret. Dreams about statues that fell and other statues that stood up again. He asked all his wise men and consultants about what the dream meant, but no one could answer it until a man named Daniel came along. God gave Daniel not only the dreams, but also what these dreams meant. In so many words, these dreams that the king had were alluding to the fact that his kingdom was not going to last forever. It was temporary. In fact, God even declared in Daniel chapter 4 verse 25 that this king will be driven mad like an animal until he recognizes that the Most High rules over all the kingdoms and gives it to whoever he pleases. The king, in his own arrogance, boasted himself up. We see in verse 30, he says, "Is this not Babylon the Great, which I myself have built?" And in that same moment, the king was driven mad like an animal until he humbled himself to God. In verse 37, we see that he gives praise to God, showing true humility. And it's in this story that we can see the parallels to Roman reigns. The arrogance behind the head of the table persona, believing that it's within his own power and his own effort that he is where he is. In the same way that the king lost his kingdom when he failed to acknowledge the Most High God, we see that Roman lost his family, his title, and even his wise man because he wouldn't acknowledge the arrogance that ritually fueled his ego. It's WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. But you see, last year they fought for the championship, and once again Roman retained at WrestleMania 39 through the help of his family. But did he acknowledge their efforts? Did he treat them as equals? Or did he see them as pawns in a game of chess, pieces that needed to be sacrificed at any given moment? The man that had everything for a span of close to 4 years seemingly lost everything in one fell swoop, one quick moment. And that's how fast destruction comes. Going back to that Proverbs verse, pride goes before destruction. We see a prideful Roman even though we see the bloodline cracks showing. The Usos going their own way with Jimmy and Jey Uso in separate directions. We see the uncertainty of Solo Sikoa being the enforcer, and we have the wise man Paul Heyman showing his cunning and sneaky nature. And through it all, Roman believed he could withstand just through his sheer determination. And even with the people's champion on his side, Roman Reigns lost his belt. To sum up with what Cody Rhodes predicted, Roman lost everyone. A man without a family, a Roman without a reign, and a chief with no tribe. Funny enough, as I was writing this script, I noticed when Cody said this was the build up to WrestleMania 39, which he lost. But a year later, everything that Cody predicted had happened to Roman. In the same way, in Daniel chapter 4 verse 29, the second dream where God told the king he would go mad like an animal was fulfilled 12 months later. So let this be a lesson that arrogance has an inevitable downfall. It's just a matter of time. Now, let's take time to reflect. James chapter 4 verse 6 tells us, God exalts the humble and opposes the proud. How often are we giving ourselves glory or praise, whether in the things that we create, the jobs that we perform, or the accomplishments that we attain? We should be dedicating that praise and glory to God. Without Him, we can do nothing of our own will. So let's be mindful that we don't replicate the story of the king in Daniel chapter 4, or, to stay relevant to the video, not to replicate Roman's arrogance. And if we should be acknowledging anyone, it should be the Most High God. I invite you to tell me about a time you became too prideful and had to be humbled. Or perhaps you want to share a comment about how humility plays a role in your life. If you liked this video or gained anything from it, give it a like or share it with someone. And remember, faith can be found in the most unexpected places. See you next time.